Hey, I'm Jerry Watterson, and I'm here with Chef Dennis Chan. We're shooting a podcast for Chef Dennis's channel, and I think you can count on many more after this one. But today we thought that we would dive in and, or at least I did, we thought we'd interview Chef Dennis so that we can learn kind of more about you, since it's your channel, and this will kind of be the first opportunity for us to introduce your story to the people who've
I'm in the hot seat.
There it is. We're on. All right. So you grew up in the restaurant industry, right?
I did.
So tell me about being a kid growing up in the restaurant industry.
Well, my grandparents were immigrants from southern China, and so they chose where they would be most comfortable, and that's in around Florida here. And the temperature, the climate is much like their home, and so they chose to settle here, and what they knew best was how to cook and how to share food that they grew up with. So my grandfather opened a few restaurants over the years here in Jacksonville, and it was just a passion of mine that was developed from a small age. I grew up going to see my granddad in his restaurant, and then my parents had restaurants, and then it was time for me to open a restaurant, so I did, and followed in that family.
Did the family expect you, or was it on? You're opening a restaurant?
The family did everything they could to get me not to.
I grew up in a family business too, and mine was the opposite. Mine was like, you're going to business school, you'll finish business school, you're going to come learn to run the business. And I ran as far as I could from it, and then ultimately ended up coming back and doing it. But a decade in professional poker, I think, is about as far from running a battery company as you could imagine.
Well, you got to do it, and then you got to know that this is what you're meant to be, and what you're meant to do.
Super blessed to get to go chase the dream, and then come back and run a company and lead people, and hopefully make work fun for the people that work with me.
Yeah.
So you've had a restaurant for years, and then ultimately things happened and whatnot, and you decided to move the restaurant to a different part of town and build this, like, kind of your dream space, right?
It is. It's our dream restaurant.
That's awesome. And for those of you that don't know, we're here in Jacksonville, Florida. Chef Dennis has a restaurant called Blue Bamboo. Blue Bamboo Canton Bistro is the whole name, right? So anyway, you got to build your dream space, which, by the way, we're going to show the space on another video. So if you want to check it out, make sure to subscribe. It'd mean a lot to us also. Yeah. But if you were going to open a restaurant today, if you were going to open a brand new restaurant today, first, what would the concept be? And then walk us through kind of like, what are the 5 most important things, or it doesn't have to be 5, but what are the things that you would be top of mind in thinking about to plan to open a restaurant?
Well, we were at our first location for 16 years. So we really got to see what we love to do and the kind of events we love to do and how we wanted to offer our service. So when we built this restaurant, our dream restaurant, we were able to put all those elements into place exactly where we wanted them and make it functional for us and for our business. So a big part of our business is private parties, and we're able to build in private rooms with service areas to take care of those things. But we're just 3 years into our restaurant here now. So when you talk about dream restaurant, we're in it. But if I were to do it again and open something else, I'd probably go a little bit more casual and open a smaller footprint and
like fast casual or table service?
Probably fast casual, because that you're able to create food, but at a more casual level where everyone can access that food, and you're cranking, you're putting out a lot of food. Maybe even incorporate some robotics into that restaurant. There are so many ways to cook food now that use robots to help, and it's more than just pressing a button. You still have to oversee what's going on and how it works. But that's probably what I would do.
All right. So what's the next thing you'd be thinking about
So the next thing I would think about is style of service. I mean, you think about Chipotle, they've got it down pat where
Right, you move
just
through the
scoop
line,
and
scoop, go.
you add on as many flavors as you want, and that person's happy with whatever they created
Never happy
themselves.
with what they created at Chipotle. Well, I'm the Chipotle hater. Everybody else loves the place. I don't know, but I don't get it.
Well, Chipotle did start a restaurant called Shopkeep or Shopwalk or something like that, and it was that very thing. It was an Asian version of Chipotle where they did all bowls and wraps, and I think they had a little trouble because they weren't as familiar with Asian cooking. And I think there's a chance for someone to do that. And I think Indian flavors are really good for that also.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. I've seen some of that. I've seen people who meld tacos with Indian.
Yes, and bigger cities, it works.
I love it. I think it's really cool. Aside from the ultimate lightweight with spice. So no matter what, when I go to a new Indian place, if I don't know the menu, like I inevitably get something that I'm just dying.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I need the mild stuff, but mild to them and mild to me are two different words. So, yeah. Okay, what's next? What else are we thinking about when we're opening a new restaurant? And by the way, if someone as big as Chipotle can try a brand new concept like that and completely fall on their face, holy cow for the average Joe who wants to open a restaurant.
Yeah, no, they did a great job, but they had great real estate and they had really functional locations. Called Shop House. That's what it was called. And I tried them. I thought they were great, but they really had trouble keeping the food fresh on the line. And that is something that you have to really know Asian food, and you have to know what holds well and what will carry well.
That makes sense. Give me your 3 favorite restaurants you've ever eaten at anywhere in the world.
Oh my goodness. There's so many restaurants that I've eaten at that are great. There's one in New York City that wasn't a full restaurant. It was just a dessert tasting restaurant. So pretty much you had a 5-star dessert experience, and you could go have pizza around the corner and then go have this delicious 5-star dessert experience. It was called Chickalicious. And the chef there, her name is Chicka. And then, of course, but she has 2 different businesses. One's across the street from each other. One is her tasting menu dessert bar. And then across the street, she's just got a grab and go. And she's got just the perfect balance of pastries. And
this one's still there, right?
Yeah,
I've got a New York trip coming up.
Yeah, it's still there.
Sweets.
It's a great place. Then also another one of my best restaurants that I've been to is I went with my mentor Ming Tsai, and we went to eat at Babbo in New York City, and that's Mario Batali's restaurant. He came, he sat with us the whole time we were eating, and it was just a neat experience because that was the height of his career, and here he was hanging out with us while we were eating.
It says something about him that he just
yeah,
roll in and hang out.
Yes, it was fun.
Not big time yet.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. For sure. Okay, that's 2. Give us number 3.
And then number 3, let's see. There's a lot of great restaurants in Vegas, but there's not one that I think, I always like the personal touch of having a chef there and showing you his craft. And when I worked at Disney, I worked with one of my guests was Wolfgang Puck and his family. So if you were to go back in time, back to when... So
let me just to bring everybody up to speed. Shifton has worked as a VIP host at Walt Disney World. There's probably some special Disney term for that.
Oh, yeah, as a VIP tour guide. And when guests who come into the parks and needed special help getting through the parks, that was what my job was to do.
It sounds like a fantastic job.
It was the best job ever. And it was just a neat little hourly job. And you were responsible for making sure those VIP guests got to where they needed to be and were enjoying everything that they needed to enjoy the whole time.
So tell us about the guiding Wolfgang Pucker.
Oh, yeah.
I interrupted you.
No. So the restaurant was, at that point in time, Wolfgang Puck Cafe had opened at downtown Disney, and they had this really talented sushi chef that worked there, and it was, I couldn't imagine any better, because here the tour had just finished. We had just gotten Wolf and his wife on the plane with their kids, and then I went back and I was like, oh, now I gotta go have a meal. So I went to Wolfgang Puck Cafe and had a great meal, because they all knew me, because I was in and out of the
right. They saw you with him, so you got the A+ version.
Yes. So that was another great experience.
Okay, so goofy question. What the name is Wolfgang? What does his wife call him?
Wolf. Yes,
okay.
yes. Back then, yeah. And
Wolf. Is that what everybody calls him? Pretty much, just
Wolf. Yeah. What's cool is
he got like a badass name. He got we might have to beat that word, but he got like the coolest name from birth, right? Like I bet he got teased as a kid, but as an adult, everybody has to call you Wolf.
Yes,
that sounds awesome.
Well, the neat thing is, that back then I took their kids around the parks and, showed them around. And it was intense. Those were 19-hour days that I would work back to back. Whenever there was a press event or something with Wolf and Barbara at the time in the parks, I would take their kids to the parks, and then I would take Wolf and Barbara to their news interviews and stuff. So neat times. But now one of his kids, Byron, is one of the chefs at Spago. So Spago is at a really neat place right now, because it's at their second generation, and I know there are other chefs that their parents were once really famous chefs, and now their kids are at that place. So
it's such an interesting transition. And again, I have kind of a very unique experience, kind of in the running a business with my father now, and ultimately planning to take over that business. And you did it in a different way, right? So like you ended up opening your own restaurant, but you still carried on the family legacy. And if I come to eat, I see Dad, rolling around the restaurant.
Yeah, Dad's always making sure everything's going the way it should be.
That's awesome. It's it's such a joy to get to see your family every day. Like people don't realize how valuable that is. You know what I mean? Like you spend more time, especially as a chef, you spend more time at work than you do at home.
Yeah.
So getting to see your family every day at work, getting that extra time with them is priceless.
Well, that's really why I chose to open Blue Bamboo in Jacksonville, because my family's here. Because at the time right before we opened this restaurant, I was in Orlando running restaurants for bigger companies. And I wanted to open my own place in Orlando, and it just happened to work out that I could start here and have family support and have my family come in and out as they pleased to help us out.
That's very cool. So I'm looking for. So we talked about. So you're a VIP host at Disney. We got one story and one celebrity out of that, but I guarantee you there were more. So tell us about some of the other people that you hosted. Kind of what was that experience like, and maybe a fun side story about a celebrity or two that people wouldn't expect.
Well, in the food world, I had Marcella Hazan on tour, and she was in town for the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot. And she really was a great food teacher. And even before I went to culinary school, before any of the food stuff that I do now, she taught me that Italian food and Chinese food are very much alike compared to French food, because in French food, you cook a sauce separate of the main item, and then you put the two together. In Italian food and in Chinese food, you cook everything in one pot. So your sauce is with your protein and your pasta, and it's all in one pot, just like you would in a wok in Chinese.
That's so funny, because I've walked in a lot of kitchens, and I walk in a kitchen and I always see them cooking the pasta separate from the sauce.
Oh, yes.
All the time. But Even I've been in Italian restaurants where they're doing that.
Oh, Well, that's what Marcella taught me. And so I've always thought of food differently once she taught me that. And all through culinary school, I kept that in the back of my mind that she taught me that. So, just a great cooking teacher and a great food teacher. I also had Rick Bayless from Chicago, very famous. He wrote the most comprehensive book on Mexican cooking. So he and his wife Deanne and their daughter Lainey go probably several times a year now to Mexico, but they used to take a hiatus every year to go to Mexico to, just get inspired to bring stuff back to their restaurants in Chicago. And that was always inspiring to me too, that they did that. They made that really commitment.
Fun. And he's gotten just huge.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes.
I was in the airport in Chicago, and there was a
Frontera Grill. Yes,
there's like one everywhere.
And
now.
I think you can buy the chips in Whole Foods.
And a sauce too. I think.
Yes.
Rick's. If you're not familiar with him, he's a chef out of Chicago.
Yes.
Very well known for doing Mexican cuisine, and has a restaurant called Frontera Grill.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. Then then there's sports stars that I had.
This is fun.
And
Dennis, there's we've had conversations about you doing this and being a VIP host, and I heard a whole bunch of celebrities. These are all brand new, and this is very cool. So keep going. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No. So one of my tours it started back when there was a dream team basketball team, and the office kept telling me, you're gonna love your guest, he's really nice. And I knew nothing about him, but it was David Robinson from the San Antonio Spurs. And so he had a 2-year-old, he had a 4-year-old, and then he had a child on the way. So I was responsible for making sure their family got to where they needed to in the parks, and then also him to every interview, every motorcade, all the stuff that they did for publicity. And just they truly are the nicest family. And so then they said, Valerie, his wife, said, when are you going to come visit us in San Antonio? And I said, soon, we'll keep in touch and soon. And of course, that's against the Disney rules to hobnob with your celebrity guests. So they went, and then they came back, and then Valerie said, when are you coming to San Antonio? Because we've asked you, when are you coming? So I finally said, okay, I'll go. And she says, we won't rat you out. We'll get you. So they were so nice, and they are truly, even today, they're great friends.
So you went to San Antonio?
I went to San Antonio, visited them. They said, come stay with us.
That's incredible.
And then they said, come to Aspen. We have a house in Aspen. Come to Aspen. Come to Hawaii. We have a house in Hawaii. So, they're truly generous friends, kind. And I've watched all 3 of their kids grow up. And it's neat to see the kids and what they're doing now. Their one son, Corey, their middle son, he not only played football for Notre Dame, but then he became he worked at Sotheby's as a fine arts specialist. And then he went to work for NBC Sports as a reporter, and his contract is almost up. And so he said, Dennis, I have a passion for cooking. Where do I go cook? So he's asking me what 5-star restaurants to go cook at, to stage, just to improve his skills so that he can move on to whatever he wants to do next.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Who knew you had all these celebrity friends?
Well, they're kind people, and I'm happy to be around people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think often people forget that people are just people.
Yep.
Too often you're sitting with you meet someone important, and the people are freaking out.
You get nervous.
People. For me, actually, in college, having that experience of learning, people are just people was such a revolutionary way of doing things. In fact, I have a quick story about that. So I was student body president at the University of North Florida in college, and a couple of my friends who were in student government with me and I invited Luther Coggin, who owned like a very, very wealthy man who owned all of the car dealerships in town, to lunch. He was a member of the board of trustees there, and as student body president, you actually got a seat on the board of trustees, which every Florida university you do. Yeah. So I got an opportunity to meet some really interesting, fascinating people who I learned a lot from. But I was very green, very new at that time. And so we invited Luther Coggin to lunch. And we're like, okay, where are we going to take Luther Coggin? Like, this is a big deal. This is college kid thought. Yeah. College kid thing. Like, so our buddy, like Mike, one of the guys that was with us, his dad had a membership to the River Club, which is like the top floor of the biggest building downtown and whatnot. And so we made a reservation at the River Club. We're like, oh, well, it's Luther Coggin. We got to take him someplace nice. Like, he didn't just go eat at Longhorn. Right. And so he picks us up. He drives it. Oh, we'll take my car. Of course, nicest car you've ever seen. We hop in the car and he goes, boys, we're going to Longhorn.
Awesome.
It's like, oh, okay. And Mike's like, we get out of the car and Mike sneaks up. Hey, I need to cancel my reservation. So, but it was a great learning experience. I think, having that experience, I was like, wow, we overthought this.
Right. People just want to enjoy the moment.
No, that I think people who often get tons of attention really enjoy people who don't give them that. People who just treat them like everybody else. Yeah.
Well, one of my other guests when I worked at Disney.
I like this. We can keep going to this.
Yeah. Well, I had Tyra Banks on tour.
Wow.
Yes, and that was before the America's Next Top Model, and Tyra was before, I think, even her first swimsuit, cover. And she was just a ton of fun. She brought her two friends, and one was our hair guy, one was her nail guy. And we just walked the parks and played the whole time and went from attraction to attraction and just...
So did you get to hop on the ride with the guests too?
She made sure that I did. And so that, it was fun because there were four of us, right? And the Haunted Mansion was one of the attractions we wanted to go in. And the two guys were hilarious. And, Tyra also, loved to joke around a lot. And so we go on the Haunted Mansion, and it's supposed to be 2 people per coach, right? And she's like, no, we want to all sit in one. So we're like squished in, bar on, and we're like, oh no, this is it was not comfortable, but it couldn't have been more fun to go on that attraction. And then it like turns around and
everybody's screaming and joking.
Yeah. So it was hilarious. Awesome. Yeah. So much fun. But she's my most fun guest, I think, because she just whatever. It was like a friend that wanted to go to the park with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So give me the if you're taking somebody to Disney, what are we're going to Magic Kingdom, what are the 2 things we got to go do?
Well, going to the Magic Kingdom, if you go, there's naturally everyone goes to the right. So if you go to the left and start that way and go around, you'll hit a lot less crowds. That was the first thing we learned as a VIP tour guide.
Great tip.
Yeah. But Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite attraction there at Walt Disney World, and it's never.
Did you like the remake to the Johnny Depp version, or did you like the old version better?
I still like it just as much. And I'm not a huge movie person, so the Johnny Depp stuff is just subtle.
Yeah,
and you notice it if you're looking for it. Yeah,
that's cool. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then also the one that no one else will ever say, but the people mover is my favorite attraction.
My wife loves it.
And I would always, whenever I had little kids, that was their favorite too on the attraction. So I would always make sure I took the little kids on that because there was never a line and it was breezy and you got to go in and out of all those buildings into
So if you're taking VIP guests, did you skip the lines with them or no?
Back then, there were two kinds of VIPs. There were ones that you had a priority entrance pass and one that you did not. And you were hired so that you could just be the entertainment while you were waiting in line. So you would point out hidden Mickeys. You would, they got the full experience, but they weren't backdoored into the attraction.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, now they sell like a VIP tour where I think you do skip the lines.
Yes. And with Fast Pass, it's totally different than when I was there. And Pat Sajak was one that didn't get priority entrance because there was a time where it had to go to the office of Michael Eisner, and then he decided whether someone got.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who would think the CEO would cherry pick who got priority?
Yes.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. All right, so we'll dive back into some fun cooking.
Yeah.
Give me, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Favorite thing to cook? It depends on the day. It depends on what I'm craving to eat. Just like anyone out there, a favorite thing to cook and a favorite thing to eat. Comfort food for me is a nice pan-fried noodle with a gravy on top. But that it changes by day.
That's I like that. Changes my day.
Yeah.
I feel that way too, but my comfort food's fried chicken, and it changes my day. And then I don't want to do it.
There's always time for fried chicken. I love that too.
That's great. How about favorite? Do you have a favorite soy sauce brand?
Favorite soy sauce brand? My family has used Kikkoman soy sauce brewed here in the United States for over 50 years. And they just celebrated their 50-year anniversary last year. And it is a good product. We know it's dependable, reliable, and the flavor is always consistent. So, we buy it for the restaurants by the 5-gallon bucket. So, we've got these big buckets of Kikkoman soy sauce. And, I love the product, and they do a nice job, and it's made here in America. So why not?
I like it. Okay, how about a favorite hot sauce? Everybody this is like the most controversial question you could ask. Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone's is different, right? So do you have a favorite hot sauce?
Well, the hot sauce of the moment is Chili Crisp. So the brand that is best known for Chili Crisp is called Lao Gan Ma, and it's a great consistent brand made in China. So Lao Gan Ma.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got a little auntie on the cover on the label. So
look for the little auntie.
Look for the little auntie on the label.
Right on sauce. That's great. That's good. So I know that you taught at the local college here. Taught cooking classes to culinary students. Can you tell me, I don't want to know about cooking classes. I want to know, what did you learn from teaching? Because every time I teach, I always learn something.
Yeah. That the reason I started teaching at the local community college, I wanted to give back to the community and to future students. And, not that I knew so much that I wanted to teach, but I wanted to inspire more people to love what I love. And I think that's what a lot of teachers do, is that if you get more out of teaching than what you give, then you're in the right place. And that's how I feel about teaching, is that whenever I teach and I'm able to get someone to be excited about whatever subject it is, that's really what you learn and what you get from being able to share.
Yeah. You can't understate the value of joy.
Yep.
Okay, last question. We'll wrap up with this one. when you walk through the restaurant, I know every day you walk through your restaurant and greet guests and chat with people and whatnot.
Whenever I can.
It's one of the things people love most about coming to a restaurant, actually, is that they get that chef interaction.
We've met a lot of neat people over the years.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Well, and I think the other thing they like is that if you guys have never met Chef Dennis before, most of you probably haven't watching, but he just exudes joy. Sincerely.
Oh, thanks.
You do. When you walk through the restaurant, it's joy. And I think people like that. I get to meet the chef, and he's always like excited about what we're doing, excited to learn more about the people, that sort of thing. So when you walk through the restaurant, what are the questions you get asked the most?
Oh, goodness. There's so many things that people ask. They'll ask how this dish is made, or what is your favorite, or can I rarely get asked, can I change this or that? They usually ask the servers that stuff. But mostly it's just, how do I make this, or what's your favorite Asian market, or what's your favorite sometimes they'll even ask, what's your favorite soy sauce? So so that's all kinds of questions. It's usually, what's your favorite?
That makes sense.
And it could be anything. But I'm glad that people trust me enough to ask.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So here's a fun one. If people ask you how to make it, do you tell them? Or
yes,
are there some that are like trade secret?
The biggest compliment to me, and that's why we teach, once a month I teach cooking classes too, to our guests. And it's because there are no secrets. The biggest compliment to me is if you can duplicate what we've presented you, because that means you love it enough to want to make it again and want to make it yourself. And those who come to our restaurant all the time, my favorite guests are the ones that will order the same thing every time, because that tells me the quality is the same and I'm able to present the same thing to them every time.
That's great. That's great. So one of the things we were like, you do a podcast and you chat about kind of what are some of the questions we're going to talk about and that kind of thing. One of the things you shared with me that I think just we have to talk about is you were saying, like, when you walk through the restaurant, the one thing that surprised you a little bit is that people always bow to you.
Yeah. In our old restaurant, we only had one door that came in. So when I would walk up to greet the guests, if we didn't have a hostess or whatever, then they would bow to me. And it was funny because, it is Asian culture some Asian cultures to bow at someone to show respect. And people are just taught that that's respectful. So I'll get a nod or a bow sometimes. And it's funny because when I have friends come in, I'll say, hey, watch, this person's going to bow at me. And I'll walk up to greet them and they'll bow.
Like somebody you've never seen before.
So
right?
I've never seen before. And
you give them just a look, right?
Yeah, it happens.
I like that. And Chinese culture, though, is there's no bowing, right? Or not much?
Maybe way back.
Yeah.
But it is more of a Japanese or Korean cultural thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they put their head to the floor or anything. It's just a little slight nod. And
it's noticeable. Kind of a sweet thing to do, too.
Yeah, right? It's noticeable. If you sit by the door, you can watch it happen at least once a night.
That's fun. That's really fun. Well, I've had a lot of fun talking with you today. It's been a blast. This is the first time that we've done a video podcast, but I think our game plan is to do a bunch more on the channel, and I hope you guys will like and comment and subscribe. And if you have questions, you have cooking questions, you want to know about a recipe, anything like that, feel free in the comments to ask Chef Dennis, and he'll dive in and answer your questions.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
Yep.